The biggest lessons I've learned in my life are here. Through different topics, I'm going to inspire and motivate you to reach your success and your dreams. I'm so grateful that you're here on Journey to Success. So let's enjoy my next episode together. Hello, finally.
Yeah, you know what I had to do? I needed to delete the app, and then once you were on, I was able to reset the app, and then it recognized me as a guest. Like it
Right.
didn't recognize me.
That's okay, no worries. You are here. That's the most important thing. How are you? Everything good?
How are
Right.
you?
Nice. Everything good. Everything great. So I did my hair today, and pretty clean since I since I cut it a lot. So yeah, for the rest, everything great. And are you ready to start? Tell me.
Yeah, I'm ready to start. Where are you located? You're in Italy?
Delft, Netherlands.
The Netherlands. Oh, beautiful.
In Netherlands, but I'm Italian.
You're Italian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Italian, as you can hear. Yeah. But I've been in Ireland first. I did some study, and then I moved to Netherlands. It's a beautiful country, so very happy here.
And you're out of the Mediterranean heat.
Sorry?
You're out of the Mediterranean heat.
Yeah.
Where are you from? In
Calabria,
where?
South Italy. Calabria, South Italy.
Oh yeah,
Very
so you're
beautiful.
really out of the heat.
Very beautiful, and we like to eat there.
Oh, wow.
And it's a great country, but unfortunately there is not so much job and opportunity. So that's the reason why I decided to move to another country.
Yeah, it's so hot right now in the Mediterranean. So you're getting out of the 40 plus degree.
Yeah. So the news went also there then. The crazy news about the temperature, because also in Italy is around 37, 45.
45. Wow. Yeah, here today in Tiberias, it's about 41.
41. Yeah, but it's really exceptional what's happening right now in Italy. Some city reach 45 grades, but it's a pretty an exceptional grades for Italy.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So let's start then.
Okay, yeah. How is my microphone?
It's good.
It's good? Okay.
No, it's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
definitely. All right. So, okay, let's start with the first question. And being a parent to an 18-year-old who is both autistic and schizophrenic must have its challenges and joys. So can you share with us something about it? Just an open question. Tell us.
Well, it has challenges and joys. It's a very timely question right now. He came home. His name is Baruch, which in Hebrew means blessed. And he came home for the summer. We found a summer job for him this past week, and we were told by the psychiatrist that he'll never be able to work. And we had such a joy that my wife and I found him a job at a local grocery store. Very simple work. And they told him to show up bright and early at 9:00 in the morning, Sunday morning. And he showed up for work, his first day of work, first day ever showing up for work. And they took one look at him and told him, you're not going to be able to work here. This isn't the job for you. Just simply working in a grocery store. They made fun of him a little bit. at the grocery store. They weren't terribly nice and sent him home. And he walks through the door at around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I say, Baruch, what are you doing here? And he told us this story. And as his father, I was very upset. Needless to say, I was very upset. But he really was, he had a great deal of equanimity, of just balance, peace. I was unbalanced. I can't even say, just as a parent of a disabled child, of a schizophrenic child, I was unbalanced when I heard what happened. But he had such acceptance and such calmness. And that for me became the huge source of pride in my son. I was thinking that I would have pride that he's going to work and it's his first day of work. And and the night before this happened, I thought, well, that's going to be my source of pride. My son going to work is going to be my source of pride. And when he arrived back home at, an hour later, a little hour later, a little bit more than an hour later after he left, I realized, well, my source of pride wasn't he's going to work, but it was his reaction to being ridiculed, made fun of for having a mental illness. It was that he was really calm and wasn't angry and wasn't reactive. I was feeling quite reactive, but he was calm and forgiving. He was forgiving of the people who had ridiculed him, that they were the ones who were pathetic, not him. He has a mental illness. He's well aware of it. That became my pride. So we all have, in Hebrew, the word is nachat. My nachat, my pride, my satisfaction for my son wasn't the way I thought it was going to be, but it's the way that it was. So it's sort of that flexibility so I don't know if that entirely answers the question, but that's
Right. I have another question for you. So I read a little bit about your biography and especially about this instrument, right? That you developed, the H.A.R.P, H.A.R.P. So how did this experience with your child lead you to explore sound healing as a way to provide relief for someone affected by schizophrenia?
Before we go through, if you're enjoying this podcast, please consider taking just 3 seconds to share it with someone else. It is a small gesture that could make a big difference in someone's day. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we tried everything. We really tried so many things. We tried regular medication, and that didn't seem to help a whole lot. We tried cannabis, THC, CBD, CBN, the whole spectrum of cannabis, and that actually was very helpful. I have to say cannabis was and has been extremely helpful, but we gave him oil, and he didn't like oil. He doesn't like the taste of cannabis. So, not liking the taste of cannabis, he fought it tooth and nail, and there wasn't really much to do about that, except for look for alternatives. So we tried. There was a vest we tried. It's like this tight vest that sort of gives you a hug, and it didn't really do much. We tried weighted blankets, deep breathing, and I think deep breathing really works very well. I don't know anybody who deep breathing doesn't work for, but you have to do it. And he just wasn't going to do it. So then I looked on Amazon for some sort of an instrument, a therapeutic healing instrument. And I found a steel tongue drum, which was not very expensive. And I didn't want to spend a lot on something that, I was just testing out. And he didn't really care for it. It just wasn't his style. But having a child with disabilities, especially he had very severe disabilities of just paranoia. He went through a period, thank God, that has passed, in which he would pull knives, and that was very.
Anyway, he's aware anyway about it.
He's aware. He's aware, but
all right.
Back when he was about 13, he would get very paranoid and feel the need to pull a knife to protect himself, and that was very scary. And you could imagine that the stress level of having a child who would pull a knife was very, very stressful. When his mother was pregnant, when my wife was pregnant with one of the kids, like maybe 8 months pregnant, he punched her in the stomach. He was paranoid. It wasn't anger. It was just paranoia that something was going to happen and he needed to, who knows. But the stress was enormous. So even though he didn't really, the sound healing didn't help him much, it helped me to just relax.
Right.
Enough to roll through it, to just get through the hardship, the punches, the big waves of helping my son through his paranoid schizophrenia. And then from there, I decided to try another instrument. So I got a Native American flute, and that was just wonderful. And from that, it started to become a bit of an addiction. And I got some Himalayan singing bowls. And from there, some chimes and some gongs. And now it's more gongs and more mallets.
It's so fascinating. I mean, how did you come across the healing power of these instruments?
Well, so when I found that it was helping me to relax, despite the stress of, and it wasn't just the stress of my son, it was also the stress of the system. Dealing with the social workers, dealing with the bureaucracy. And this is Israel, but I would imagine that it's no different in many countries. From what I've heard, Scandinavian countries and the Netherlands, Germany are really cutting edge and avant-garde dealing with disabilities. But in many countries, when you're dealing with bureaucracy, it's just really nerve-wracking. And seeing that these instruments were helping me to relax, and being that I by profession am a psychotherapist and enjoy doing research, I began researching. Well, what's going on? What's happening on a cellular level when I play the gong, when I play the singing bowl, when I play the chimes? What's happening on the atomic level, to my atoms, to the electrons? What's happening then on a much more macro level than the atomic level, which would be the cellular level? What's happening on or even the molecular level? What's happening on the molecular level? Then the macro level, from the molecules will be the cellular level. What's happening on the cellular level, and then from there, what's happening to my organ systems when I play the gong? What's happening to my sympathetic nervous system, and to my parasympathetic nervous system, and to my vagus nerve, and what's happening to my chakras? And of course, there's a lot written in Vedic literature about sound and healing with nada yoga. Oftentimes I'll be speaking to another yogi. I do a lot of yoga, and I'll mention nada yoga, which nada in Sanskrit means vibrational. So what's happening, and all yoga is in a way nada yoga, because all yoga is vibrational. It works through balancing the imbalanced vibrations in our bodies, in our minds, in our cells, and our atoms, molecules, and extending out to the universe. And I'd mention nada yoga, and people were, hey, what's nada yoga? I know about hatha, I know about vinyasana, but what's nada? Nada.
For example, in my case, for example, I used to do Raja Yoga.
Raja yoga.
So Raja Yoga, it's one of the oldest, I think.
Yeah, Raja Yoga is one of the oldest. And also, interesting that Raja Yoga, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Raja Yoga is not really about practicing asanas. I mean, I do practice asanas, but am I correct in that Raja Yoga is not really an asana-focused yoga? It's
Raja Yoga, it's more like a mix between Ashtanga Yoga and meditation.
Okay.
So it's and I think one of the gurus was Paramahansa Yogananda. They used to Paramahansa Yogananda was the teacher of Swami Kriyananda. They were that kind of guru who used to teach Raja Yoga. It's very, very beautiful. I found very complete, honestly. So, but any kind of the oldest yoga, also the one that you mentioned, are fascinating. I'm not really the one who follow the trend that now everything is a different type of yoga, but it's not for real. So I perfectly know what you're talking about.
The nada yoga actually preceded hatha yoga. It was really just meditating on the sound, specifically our inner sound. It was meditating on our inner sound, and the method of sound healing that I sort of innovated. It's very similar to what Stephen Porges innovated. But the difference really is that I'm using, I don't know if you could see behind me, there's a gong. But I use the old instruments, the ancient instruments, the chimes and the gongs, and the same instruments that if somebody was to walk into a healing practitioner in India, or anywhere in the world for that matter, in Tibet, in Japan, in Russia, in Finland, anywhere really, 2,000 years ago, what instruments would they have experienced? Those are the instruments I want to use. I want to use the ancient instruments. So I really try to limit the use of anything computer engineered. Although I do record at a professional studio, but we really try to take a very minimalist approach to editing the sound.
Wow.
So it's really the ancient healing sounds that are being used.
And you also use these techniques in an Israeli prison, right? Or not? Or am I mistaken?
I'm sorry.
That you use these techniques also in a prison, right?
Yeah, and that was really cool because in Israel we have the prison system is a beautiful place here in Israel. I can't say that about other places, but here in Israel, it's a beautiful place. And the reason I say it's beautiful is because you have Muslims and Jews and Christians and Druze and people of the Baha'i faith and people from all over just coming together, doing time. Nobody wants to be there, and they're all sort of depressed to a degree, and helping each other just get through it. And that's beautiful because that's a coming together. That's a real, I want to call it a cosmic union, of souls,
Yeah.
that none of these souls want to be there, but they've been placed there. And when I go and I play healing sounds, and a lot of these, they're tough guys. And when I play some of the healing sounds, especially the gong, it opens up their souls. It opens up their minds to to the beauty, to the beauty that is inherent in every human being. But and all we have to do is look for the beauty that's there because it's there and it's in each of us. But if we're so focused on the ugliness, because we could find ugliness too, and we can focus on ugliness just as much as we focus on beauty. And I think this is also the same thing with my son, that I can focus on the ugliness of his disease, or I can focus on the beauty of his overcoming to the degree he's able to his challenges. So what are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the beauty of life despite the hardships, because we all have hardships, or are we focusing on the ugliness?
Yeah.
And that's a choice. That's a choice. And when I go to a prison and I play sound for them, I'm focusing on the beauty of the sound, and the beauty of that sound. It enters them, and it it demands that they recognize the beauty within.
Well,
Oftentimes they can't find the beauty within, but when I play a beautiful healing sound on the gong, beauty recognizes beauty, and that beauty of the sound goes right into the beauty in their soul and attaches itself to the beauty in their soul. And that forces them to recognize that beauty. But that can be very painful, because if a person's been so focused on recognizing only their inner ugliness for years and decades and decades and decades, since their early childhood, all they have recognized and validated was their inner ugliness. And suddenly this beautiful sound is played and it attaches itself to their inner beauty. And they're forced to look at that inner beauty. That is so frightening. That is so frightening for that person. And I remember one time I was doing my internship in a drug rehab. This was in South Florida, and there was a prostitute. Her name was Jenny. Still remember her name, Jenny. And she had walked into the rehab from the street. She was literally just walking by the rehab and noticed it and just decided, you know, hey, I'll walk in and see what recovery and from
yeah.
crack addiction is all about. So she walked in, and she was really spunky. She was spunky and vivacious, and everyone liked her. And it was such a she was like a breath of fresh air in the group I was running, and I mentioned it to my supervisor, whose name was Cindy. And Cindy, she sort of sighed and said, Jenny's great, she's also going to be out of here in 3 days, tops. And I said, "Oh, Cindy, come on. You're so negative. Why are you saying that?" And she said, "No, you don't understand. Jenny is looking at, for the first time in her life, taking a look at her inner beauty, and she's going to have the daylight scared out of her in a day or two, and she's going to be out of here." And sure enough, that's what happened. That's what happened. The nice thing about prison, though, is that a person's sort of stuck there, so they can't just leave. Although the group was voluntary, so people did leave the group if recognizing that inner beauty was too much for them. And I apologize if I'm just sort of rambling on.
No, at all.
But
No. You're doing great.
I went about a year ago. There's a park in Tel Aviv next to the central bus station called what's it called? I want to say it's called Stelensky Park. Maybe that's what it's called, Stelensky Park. And it's where the red light district is, and the drug dealers go to, and the addicts go to shoot up and to smoke crack. And I went there with a friend of mine who's also a social worker. And we set up, it was about 11 o'clock at night. Also, a lot of Sudanese refugees are there, just enjoying the evening air. And I set up a gong and brought some Native American flutes and some singing bowls, and just set up there and did a gong bath for about an hour and a half at this park. And I wasn't really sure if anybody was listening or paying any attention. Although a police van drove by at one point, and they gave me the police officers in the van sort of gave me this look of like, "Oh, you're so pathetic." Like you what's the expression? You goody do gooder. You just you're so like you're so idealistic. And it was the look that these police gave me was just like it just spoke. A picture's worth 1,000 words. And and at first I was a little bit like taken aback, but then I thought, I bet every one of those police officers, when they on their first night, was idealistic. And it's such a shame that they're not anymore. And as I was packing up my gongs and leaving the park, one of the main drug dealer, he was obviously sort of it was his area, walks up to me and put out his hand for me to shake his hand. And he said, "I want to thank you." He said, I don't really speak Hebrew. He said to me,
No worries.
He said to me in English, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for coming here. I want to thank you for being here. And he was moved. You could tell he was really he was moved. And as I was playing, a few of the prostitutes would walk by, as they were walking by, and they just stop and just absorb the sound for a moment, 2 moments, and then continue on. And it was really, what can I say? It was a moment of beauty, of human beauty for me, because it was like, the sound, the beauty of the sound traveling and attaching itself to their inner beauty. And they're living lives, especially the prostitutes, were living lives of such ugliness And for a
It's
moment,
true.
for 2 moments, the sound, this beautiful sound, which they couldn't run from, they couldn't hide from because it's sound. I guess they could plug their ears, but it's vibratory. It shakes. It every cell, every atom of the entire body, and it goes right to the place of beauty and grabs hold of it and says, "Hey, remember me, remember me. I'm that spark of beauty you were born with. Don't forget about me. Like, I'm still around if you want to say hi." And it was just wonderful. So yeah, that's
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Well, it's true anyway, if I think about it. Like, um, we were before to be who we are, we were children. We were innocent human beings, right?
yeah,
And that spark is still there. We have just to look at sometimes, like, hey, uh, I see that you are here, and maybe this spark can also talk to us in a way. Yes, I know. I can help you with it to remind you who you are. So I totally understand what you mean, and goes to the Taoism philosophy. This reminded me a bit the Tao as well.
yeah,
The
yeah,
balance, the good and the bad, and at the end of the story, the truth is that we always have a good and bad. So, but we have to understand always how to balance, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and it's sometimes people don't know how to balance, and then they go too much to the other side, and then become too much bad, too much ugly. And to the other side, we have also people who give a lot, and they're very good with others. But it's, in my opinion, it's also nice to have a good balance. That's what the human being has to reach. That's what I think as well.
yeah.
And talking back to the schizophrenia, uh, well, we can't claim to have a cure for schizophrenia just yet, of course. However, it's fascinating how the world is advancing, right? So even Elon Musk mentioned that the schizophrenia might eventually be curable with Neuralink technology. You invented this HARP, to provide relief for those affected. So could you tell us your opinion about it? Do you think one day it's gonna be totally I don't know if it's gonna be cured or not,
You know,
totally cured or not? Tell me.
Fabio, as I was listening to you ask the question, a thought came to my mind, which I never had before. It was a thought which I never had before. And that is, do we really want to cure it? Or do we want to? This is a thought that I never had before. Do we really want to cure it? Or do we want to learn to
How
love?
accept, maybe
Yeah, accept it, and more than accept, embrace.
embrace, yeah.
Embrace those individuals who God made as he made. Instead of trying to yeah, there's definitely a part of me that would like my son to be, forgive me for using the word normal,
Yeah,
that he's gonna live a life like, me or you, like we're members of society, we're not, I mean, we might be outliers because we're thinkers, you know,
yeah,
and we're creatives and we are visionaries, but we're also part of society. And so does part of me want him to be, yeah, quote unquote normal? Uh, yeah. But then maybe on a deeper level to move beyond that, to accept him, to embrace him as God made him. because God embraces him. God embraces all the schizophrenic people who he made, and he made them like that for a reason. So rather than trying to be, rather than trying to do a better job playing God than God, maybe I would, maybe I and we would all do better trying to be even, trying to be actually godlike and embrace the people as God made them.
Or try to understand. I know it's pretty difficult, but maybe try to understand the God's plan then.
Yeah.
The reason,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
When I was working as a social worker years ago, about 20 years ago, in a walk-in clinic in Brooklyn, and there was a woman, this wonderful Jamaican woman, wonderful woman, soft-spoken and very kind, and she was a nurse, and she had paranoid schizophrenia,
yeah.
and told me that there's a nurse at a hospital, and told me that she was raped at work earlier that morning.
Whoa.
And I was, I mean, as a therapist, I mean, that would, you sort of you shift gears when somebody tells you something like that. You shift into a different gear, and then she told me, we took a moment of silence, and she broke the silence by telling me that she had that was in the morning, but then she was raped again in the afternoon. And again, shift to even lower gear. And then she told me that before leaving work, she was raped a third time. And at this point, something just wasn't sitting with me.
Yeah.
And I said to her, hold on a second. You were raped by the same person or by a different person? At this point, I sort of became a little bit less empathic and more curious.
Yeah.
And she said to me, and this was one of, you could call it just a spiritual moment in life where you just doors open, Aldous Huxley spoke about the doors of perception. Well, this for me was one of those unlockings of the doors of perception. You don't always need chemicals to unlock those doors. And she looks at me straight in the eye and she says, it's my voices. My voices rape me constantly.
Right.
And I asked her, I don't know if it was an appropriate question or not. I asked her, did you actually physically feel the voices? And she said, yeah, I physically feel the voices. And I said to her, and you still go to work? You're still able to work as a nurse? She said, I'm not going to let those voices stop me from living my life.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we ask something, we hear something, but these human beings that have schizophrenia, they have a different thought than us. They have a different way to think certain things. So when you ask that, you had a logic way to say something about it, but she meant a different thing. So
Yeah.
this is also interesting, how works the brain,
Yeah.
from us to them, and this, and I mean, we are at the end, we cover everything. I'm very happy. So I didn't imagine that the time truly flow, honestly, and I'm very, very happy. But before we conclude, I mean, is there anything else would you like to to say. It was a very good interview. Thank you so much.
Fabio, thank you so much for having me on the interview. If anybody would like to learn more about the therapy that I innovated, they can visit my website at the H.A.R.P method. It's H.A.R.P, theharpmethod.com, and we can take it from there. And
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning, and I'm going also to mention it in the description, so people are gonna look the website in the description as well. All right.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a real pleasure. I really enjoy the
Yeah,
opportunity.
for me as well. Well, when the time flying this way means it was good. It was a good interview. I'm very happy about it. Thank you so much for being here still. Thanks,
Yeah.
Binyamin.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Here we are. Congratulations, you just finished my entire episode. So, the only thing I ask is to take a moment to give Journey to Success a rating. By the way, thank you so much for being here on Journey to Success. I'm very grateful. Thank you and see you next time.